Appreciate
It's a true stock star, right? You're our stock star. I'll tell you that, man. Because one thing that I always talk about is mass buying power. We need more. We need more. So we're
working on that.
we're getting new programs, and I always love that you listen to feedback, right? That's one thing I've mentioned about it yesterday. It's so important, guys, because at the end of the day, you guys run the show too. That's what I always tell everybody in the chat. Don't forget that, right? I feel like too many times there's too many companies that just don't listen to feedback. And that's one thing that I've been truly proud of behind Trade the Pool is that you guys are always trying to hear what the customers are saying, what you guys are looking for, what you guys like, what you don't like, and then making improvements. 2 new programs coming out. Michael, tell us a little bit more about it. I'm sure you got some feedback from different traders that weighed in on this decision, and it's a big change. So I'll put it up on the screen, at least for the website, but tell us a little bit more.
For sure. So first of all, as traders, we all in the office, like 80% of us are traders, right? So we always think as a trader, what would be a better solution for home-based traders, just as we've been for many, many years. So this is definitely one thing that drives us in order to find better solution, better programs, better parameters for the programs, and so on. And besides that, listening, like you said, listening to the guys that've been with us from the get-go, we're getting tons of feedbacks every day. So we always listen to that, reading what they say, analyze them. We have tons of meeting here, just talking about those feedbacks and what we can do with it. We track a lot of data to understand how we can improve on our side as a company to manage the risk of everyone and also give to the traders the best opportunity. And the prop industry, like for Forex and futures, they've been around for many years. And we actually started roughly 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. But the state of mind was a little bit different, and because as the title says on our website, we are actually changing the way you trade. Once we decided or build that solution of capping that risk or limiting that risk, we actually automatically shift the way a trader behave, right? Instead of putting your money with, I don't know, like Robinhood or whatever it is, and risk everything, you actually risk in, that's it, the one-time fee that you're paying for the evaluation. Now that we have a new program for 5K even, and it's still obviously without the PDT rule, and you put in, let's say, $47, imagine how many times you can take the evaluation until you pass it, either one time, or even if you tried it 10 times, $500 that you spent on it, it's still worth it than putting your own risk to the game. So I'm loving the change that we bring into the table, and I see that all of you guys loving it as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no more excuse for not trading, right? I've always heard that excuse multiple times, or like I mentioned, I know so many traders that are even flagged for PDT, right? Because they're trying to be day traders without accounts, right? Let's just be honest. And with that, I think the part of it is also learning, right? Like taking just 3 trades every, kind of flipping of that PDT, it's not really going to be a proof of like your systems, right? Like I talk about, you got to take like at least 50 trades or something like that for it to even be considered like a good, sample size and things like that. So I think that this is exactly what this gives us also. For those traders, I mean, $47, like I talked about, I mean, can't pull that together. I mean, we got to talk something else, right? But we got to talk some jobs here. But other than that, I mean, I think this is really giving traders the opportunity. And then let's say if you're that type of trader, right? Well, then maybe here it's not the, the systematic. Maybe you're here and you're like, well, I need the unlimited because I want to keep trading. I just want to trade small and see what I can do, right? Start proving my skills to myself. Right. I think that's a big opportunity there. So I think we'll see what happens here. But definitely it's very important to kind of catch this, guys. I think this is a great opportunity just to even be looking at trying to expand your own skills, test different strategies, right? we talk about it with Michael all the time, Michael Noss, about different strategy testing. And one of the ways you can do that is by having that unlimited, so that you can, size down and test some different strategies, see what's really working for you.
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
can't,
excited about that.
and I mentioned this yesterday. That was something when I was taking the evals, that even though I wasn't getting anywhere near the time limit, it was just this thing in the back of your head saying, you almost felt the need, for me anyway, and different traders will be different. I felt the need to trade. I felt the need to take trades because, I have this time limit. It's, I'm pushing towards something. And if I don't do it in time, then, I've got to reset or apply more money or something. And again, it's just psychological that, you felt like you need to do it. And that with this is just completely gone, right? If you're very confident in your strategy now, you can go for the big guy account. You can go for the biggest account, and just know that as long as you're very confident that you have some edge in your trading and you trade small enough, if it takes you 6 months to get a $200,000 account, who cares? Like, where else are you going to be able to get 200K together in 6 months? You have that time now where you can keep going, and you'll have a much bigger account than anyone else. So again, those are the ones personally that I'm super pumped for, because that just is so freeing to me mentally to say, okay, I don't have to trade. I don't have to do any of this stuff. I can just, I can take the setups when they come and then ignore them all the other times.
Yeah, 100%. And yesterday we did some Q&A on our Discord community. It was great as well. Lots of questions came. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And besides that, we're super excited to see what we can do with it. I know some of you guys are waiting for the swing accounts as well. We are working on that. Hopefully it will be done within a week, top 2 weeks. And you will also have a max and a flex for swing trading. So more time, more flexibility. The target will be easier to achieve. So it's gonna be super fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that, definitely. And one of the things that I feel is important is, hey guys, I mean, there's different opportunities now, and I think you got to find what works for you, right? Like I was able to make the $20,000 account work, but maybe for you it's the 50 or the 100, right? It depends on your strategies too, right? Because if you're trying to trade some bigger names, you might need a little bit more buying power to get the returns that you're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. And that's another thing to weigh in now. I think it's important to also be looking at what is your idea for the daily pause, right? And what is your mentality with that, right? Are you looking for a tighter one? Are you looking to be kind of risk managed a little bit more? That could also weigh into your decision of whether you're going for the max or flex. Some people might be like myself, where it's like, well, I need to control the downside action, right? And so I might want the 1% versus the 2% daily pause, right? Because then it could also just be a matter of, hey, I just also need that structured approach, right? So it's depending on the trader, right? And that's what you got to be asking yourself, the smaller questions, to really find out which one is for you.
Yeah, and if you're just at the beginning of your trading career, start with the 5K. No need to rush it. See that you become profitable. See that you have the consistency, and then you can always go again and try the bigger accounts. But no need to rush. It's always, I said it before we had the 5K with the mini buying power that we had, like 20,000. Start with that. It doesn't matter. You just need to get used to the rules. You need to get used to the platform, those kind of elements. Just tweaking your strategy. So no need to spend a lot at the beginning. Just give it a shot on the 5K. See that everything works okay, and then go for the bigger.
I'm looking right now. I'm watching a lot of the action, guys. Still holding on. The financials still holding on. Those are climbing. Industrial still climbing. A lot of opportunities. Market is ripping, going right back to the pre-market high. And now I think all the questions will be had. Can we just continue the rally? So just making a call on the market here. But definitely, we'll see what happens here, guys. It's been a tough day for me. I'm on a strike 3 holdout now. So for me, it's always a mentality of I can take, a couple trades after a certain amount of time. I'm like, yeah, the getting's good on me today. We'll see what happens. This ADTX cutting 12 again. These are the opportunities that I feel like Trade the Pool gives us also. Because if you went to go short this in a regular brokerage account, you'd have to, find some leverage, right? Find what the borrowing cost is on the ADTX, right? And I'm sure it could be pretty high on a stock like this. So we'll see what happens here if it starts to break down. But this could be a nice afternoon breakdown here through the 12. Find out on that ADTX. Of course, a smaller name, big flyers. You know how these come up and they come right back down, especially when they do a nice 1 for 250 split. So
the daily chart on
opportunities,
that makes
guys.
me laugh every time. Yeah. The daily chart on that is just so hilarious. The $200 billion a share that it was worth back in the day. It's just nuts. Yeah, that's the height of it.
If I'm already here, Mitch, let me share my screen for a second.
What? Hit the like, guys. Hit the like out there. I know you guys are watching out there on X, and I got to give a shout out to Quasar Markets. Shout out to them. They hit the retweet for us, guys. Give them some love, right? These guys have really been truly supporting us. We support them also, like we talked about when we came on, right? If you're not using AI in your trading, at least to understand even better your trading, guys, use the tools that are around you. That's why we have such great partners also, because we want to supply you guys with the tools needed so that you don't feel like you are in a lack of information. This is the age of information, so look for the tools to have underneath your tool belt. Same way that Michael Noss works on strategies. You need to have your tools, right? And be able to pull on different levers at different times. It's so important. Let's take a look at Michael's charts here, see what he's looking into the market. How are you seeing things? Hold on 1 second. I got to remove mine. StreamYard did this weird thing where I got to remove and then bring it back. But here you go, my friend. We got you up.
Cool. So I got to say, in regarding to the partners, maybe we can use your help, guys, that listening right now. If you find a company that you think will be a good fit to Trade the Pool, a partner that supply like AI solutions, scanners, trading journal, whatever you think or you're using that can be benefit for all traders, make sure to let us know about it. Send it to me at michael@tradethepool.com or help at Trade the Pool, because we're always looking for that right partner to collaborate with and actually bring you more value, as we are doing with Trade Ideas, TrendSpider, Bookmap, Trader Sync, and more. So let's work together on that. Just a quick look on the Nasdaq and the VIX, right? Because yesterday I took a short on the Nasdaq. It was a super tough trade to take. Actually started it around this area, added a little bit more here. So I covered, once it dropped, I covered with a loss. And then in the morning, I saw it dropping nicely. Now that it's popping up, I'm looking at the VIX, just trying to find the correlation between those two. As we know, when the VIX is dropping, the S&P will go up and the opposite. So what I'm doing is just going to the hourly chart or maybe the 4H and looking for that next support basically on the VIX, right? And this is probably it, around the 19 points for the VIX. You can already see that the MACD is doing a positive divergence. So so it makes sense that if we'll drop to the 19, meaning if we drop into the 19, the Nasdaq will continue higher. And then when we will reach the 19, which is roughly the next support level, we should see a reverse on the VIX, and then the Nasdaq could start dropping a little bit more. For those who've been with me for a while, you know that I'm a short bias from the core of it. So it also makes sense that the price of the Nasdaq will continue to rally at around 2,200, and then we will see another drop. This is what I'm aiming for, at least, to take that short once we will reach those levels. That's it. That's it.
That's the gist of what's going on here from Michael. And that's the MACD on the bottom, right? Or am I right on that?
Yeah,
I know that's one of your looks on that. What chart, what time frame do you like it to be looking at that? Because of course time frames can matter there. You like the 15-minute, hourly? What charts do you mainly use?
So when analyzing it, it most likely will be the hourly chart and the 4 hour. But when I'm timing it, it's just or executing it, usually will be the 1 minute chart. And you can also look, once you're down to the 1 minute chart, you can look also for diversions in the MACD. Obviously, with the rest of the parameters like the liquidity level, the price action, and all. But you can easily see for now, even now, you can see the negative diversion here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of volume. In most cases, I would like to see high volume coming at the top, so capitulation. If it was a major level here, I would probably short it, but I will wait a little bit more to the next resistance level, which is around this area. Roughly
Okay.
area, yeah.
Well, there you guys have it, and the market's continuing to hold. We've been talking about it. It's been an interesting time, especially when we get these uncertainty times. It's definitely time to make and lose money, the way that I say it. But the key is, of course, trying to find different ways to get advantages in the market, right?
Sure.
I'm looking at different ways, and the penny stocks have been tough. You guys see me getting after ADTX, right? And trying to get these, and I think there are opportunities. But like always, guys, keep in mind the idea here is always to try to find things that work for you. I've been kind of downsizing here, trying to keep getting after it, but like always, it's all about finding the consistency that works for you, right? And I think that you gotta keep going at it and know when the getting's good and when it's not for you, right? There's going to be times when your strategies are working really well and times when they're not. And I think that that's the important thing, understanding that. Here you guys see me get cut out one more time. Just seems like the small caps not working right now. Large caps are working today for sure. XLE is starting to turn around, though. That's one thing that's a good positive sign for this rally. Because if the energy is going to keep climbing, that's not a good thing. But now you're starting to see that nice little downfall in the XLE. XLF's continuing to pick up, guys. Continuing to pick up. It hasn't pulled back pretty much all day long. And Q's same thing, right in that 9 EMA, right? No VWAP touch since that red to green recovery out the gates. Strong move here out the gates here. Not yet.
Yeah, just on your XLE, one thing that I really like that I'm watching here. So this is the clean up, very messy chart. So these are again, we were talking about how crazy oil was off the open. So I just marked up, yesterday's high and then the pre-market high here on the futures. And if we fail here, if we start to trade back down into this range, I think that actually could be a little bit of a fade, which is stop at the high. I've been talking more and more, using longer term charts, and we just saw it too with Michael there, using longer term charts and then taking trades and using these leveraged ETFs to get a little bit of the juice there, putting out the stops and having the system kind of liquidate you at the end of the day. And that might be a candidate for it. So this is one that I'm definitely going to watch. I think I'm going to set an alert probably under that 15-minute candle low and then go hunt for a nice double, triple leveraged oil ETF. I'm sure they're out there. It's one of the benefits of, looking at futures and doing your analysis there and then actually trading the stock side of things is that, I guarantee you, I haven't even looked yet, but there's definitely, what is it, UPRO? There's a whole bunch of these leveraged short names that you can trade from.
And we have them all with big buying power.
Yeah. And then combining, Michael's been using a little bit of maybe looking into the future and futures like contracts and then trying to use some stock trades off of that. So definitely, guys, we're going to be kind of expanding and trying different things.
WTIU. Never mind. So to say that's a 3 times leveraged oil, but no, certainly won't be trading that.
Don't trade that.
No. So SEO, they're saying that's
you have the US
Gush.
UCO.
Gush and drip. The gusher and the drip, man. And those are the ones that I use if I want to use the leverage ones. The gusher and drip.
Yeah.
Direction, so right? If you guys don't know, the reason why it's also it's the more liquidity in these direction ETFs a lot of the times.
Well, and it's interesting. You can see the difference here because this is oil suppliers. So this would be leveraged on the guys who actually pull it out of the ground, whereas something like a UCO, This is just leveraged on the actual. So I think this is 2x leverage USO and UCO. So I'm just making a list over here, right? Because we talked about, again, I've got this gold idea that's come from the futures. And if we end up breaking down on this range on gold, I just like it because we had this undercut of this massive level, and now we're looking to push lower. The 5-day moving average here, and that's also looking to push lower. So if that breaks down, then as we talked about, I just Google and found right away a GLL, and that's a very, very slow mover, but that's double gold. So again, you can use that and you get a big buying power account, and you don't need insane percentage moves. Again, the idea behind this is to complement kind of the scalping strategy that I passed the smaller account with, is to use something with these bigger guys and take more positions and longer term trades, as in, when we get swing trading counts, we'll definitely talk about that. When we get the update, I guess the swing trading counts will talk about that. But yeah, just long-term position day trades, something that I can take on while I'm here on air, and then let it go for the day, and kind of check on it periodically throughout the day on the Trade the Pool mobile app.
All right.
The web. Yeah, we do have the web as well.
Yeah.
For those of you who wanna use.
I thank you as a Mac guy. I appreciate that, and it's actually been great. It's exactly like the downloaded application. So it's been great,
guys. I need to step down here and finish for today. I'm actually going to be back. We're having a longer show, right?
Longer show, guys. Longer show. We're going a little bit extra here today, guys. So stay tuned for that, guys. And now I think you're going over to the Fiverr side of things, right?
I do. I didn't want to say that, so the guys won't tip. I'm going for a few minutes there just to talk about again the platform or the plans that we just launched, because I know a lot of Forex traders are also looking for the experience to experience with the stock trading, and now that we have it unlimited and the 5K account, it will be much easier for them to move to that direction, because let's face it, Forex is boring.
Well, excited to hear a little bit more.
I traded Forex for a while. It's very boring. Yeah.
It moves back and forth. That's one of the things. You got to have the multiple tools, right? Like I always say, tools in the tool belt, man. So we'll see you back on here. I appreciate you coming on, Michael. See you in a little while.
Bye for now.
All right, guys, let's get back to this market. Market continuing to hold here, guys. I'm out of ammo, guys. I'm out of ammo, guys. I took a pretty good hit today, guys. I told you guys I was 2 coffees deep today, guys. Maybe not the most best way to go after it today, but I went for it, guys, and it didn't work out. But one thing I'm looking at now is, so when I get into this mode, there's 2 things I can do, right? I can either try to beat myself up or look for the longer term trends. That's what I'm looking for, right? Yeah. Remember I talked about XLF, XLI. So what am I seeing there that's strong today, right? And trying to find relative strength to tell me, hey, keep an eye on these names. So one name that's standing out to me, GEV. Why GEV? You guys know I'm all about the themes, right? And nuclear, I don't think small nuclear reactors is going away anytime soon. With all the conversation of cloud computing, right, and trying to create these huge kind of like these mega places where you're having, AI and cloud computing and like these servers, right? This isn't going away anytime soon, right? And so this chart tells me more and more to keep my eye on it. It did do that undercut, right? But coming back, recovering the 9, now recovering the EMA 50 and holding today, looking well with the XLI. I think this is an area definitely you keep on your radar, and you continue to watch those XLI names. Remember, we talked about GE earlier in the week, about 200. That's already recovering, now almost 206, right? Yeah. So names like that, keep an eye out. They're not doing too bad here. SPY now showing a little bit of a kind of a harmy on the 15, right? We'll see what happens here. Nice expansion back.
Okay, because it's a big level. It was the high on this day. It was the high on the prior day. It was the pre-market high, and then we're back there as well. So, just because it's all that doesn't mean that that's a shot that I'd just take right out of the blue. But again, that's a big level. That's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on. And it may just mean that we don't get through there right away. It may just mean that it takes a couple minutes or hours or 15-minute candles or whatever it is, because I certainly wouldn't just bet short right now on this market just because it's been so insanely strong today. I would give it some time, but we're hanging out in this range. It's a very important range. It's something we really need to keep an eye on. We really need to watch going forward to make sure that if we get through that range, this could be just an insane day. We're only up 0.4 points. Yeah, 0.5% right across the board. We got to remember, but so it's definitely room to go. But from the open, that was just these are 15-minute candles. There's nothing here to get you into anything. Just rip. So it's definitely been one of those. Just checking up on some of the trades I got open. It's just ACN. That was this one. ACN, that one's doing great, just grinding higher. So that's definitely the best one today. TSLL just hasn't moved for me, but still in that one. And then the only other thing, again, I'm watching is GLL. So that's the gold, this ultra short gold. If we get the move down on gold, which right now is starting to push up, we're getting to the 2-day VWAP there. Interested there. And then also interested on oil. If, again, a lot of ifs. That's how trading works, though. If we failed at this level, which it doesn't look like we're doing, looks like we're pushing higher. So I don't think there'll be a trade to be had there either. So again, light trading day, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? You just keep the trades going and you wait for tomorrow, right? The big important thing is to not force them. That's something an old Michael would have done all the time, is think you need to take a lot of trades every day. If there's nothing there for your setup, sit out.
Yeah.
Hang out.
Take it easy. Hang out. All right, guys. We'll see you right there. Man, that ADTX, man, that thing's been itching all day.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see if it finally does break down here. Definitely on that last action, got a bad fill there. That cost me there. If I kept holding on the 12, this is still holding right now. So we'll see what happens. That 12 undercut was a big undercut, I feel like. And then we went back towards like the 1240s. You keep rejecting that 1240 range. To me, there's a bigger short on this one. And the reason why they're shorting at that level, it's yesterday's high. And they keep kind of getting short off of yesterday's high, using yesterday's high. And then there's only wicks pretty much above that 12. It did get there closer towards 13, so I'm sure it put some pressure on for a little while there. But ever since then, it's been on a straight down move. We'll look to see if it recovers 12 later today. WINT also kind of hanging out there around the 3. That's another smaller name. Q's continuing, though. There it is, guys. There's a nice little continuation there. 5-minute pattern still holding the 90 EMA, just continuing to drive up there. Yesterday's high comes into play now, which is around the 485.33. So we're almost, we got about a buck there to go on the Qs. And this is one of those days where I feel like it's just the shake, man, doing the shake. And one thing that's going to be interesting, I think, for me is the close today. And of course, tomorrow is a massive important day with some option expiration coming into play. So keep your eyes on that action too. We could see some blitz calls.
And I think the close is very important because, look, we've been up here twice, right? We were up here on this day. We were up here on this day. We couldn't hold both days, right? So we end up fading back down, closing, green and very strong on both those days. But we haven't been able to stick the landing above, call it 483. So if we can do that finally, again, that's more evidence because, I'll tell you, a lot of these hedge funds, they're doing their models based off closing prices. Like the most important price, Charles Dow taught us ages ago, right? That's the most important price. And there's the SPY, right? Same kind of deal, closer to the 200-day. That's what this line is here. So back through the 200-day, that's very interesting. Again, the 200-day is important for a couple of reasons. One of them is the fact that a lot of systems run off the 200-day. Some of the systems I have as well, where they're not trading based off the 200-day, but they're using the stock's relative location to the 200-day as whether or not it's a healthy market or not. We know being above a rising 200-day moving average is going to be way healthier than being below a declining 200-day moving average. So a lot of systems use that because it, keeps you out of 2020 and 2022 or 2022, 2023, right? So you can see every time before we entered a big bear market, we got below the 200-day moving average, right? So we get below the 200-day moving average, we spend a long time, we finally get above. This is where a lot of buy systems will turn back on. If we go back in 2020, we cross below there, right? A lot of buy systems turn off, we get back above, a lot of buy systems turn on, right? So this happens just all the time. And again, it's not because it's magic or perfect or anything like that. It's just you have to use something to say, this is when I'm turning my system off, this is when I'm turning my system on. And again, you see a lot of that kind of action from these type of names. So that's why that's so important. We're very much close to it on the SPY and not so close to it on the Qs, right? It's because again, the Qs have been very relative weak during this overall move.
Yeah. And remember I talked about how the SPY could be getting that crossover on the MACD, right? So now you're starting to see that on the daily, right? Not saying that this is going to hold right now, but just at least something to see, right? So there's the crossover, right? That's what I was trying to look for, what would happen today on that, right? And so it's showing the cross there. Now we just got to continue to watch, right? Also, I'm watching to see if this RSI can cross back through this level here, the 52, 55. That'll be also a good sign to start seeing there as we start to look to see some relative strength play in. XLE still hanging in there. XLI also hanging in there. It just seems like the market's just stepping higher here. We'll look to see if it does take an elevator move back down. Rando saying he just hit his profit target and he's got to take it. Got to take it. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? One thing I think that sometimes we think about is the expansion above the profit target, but sometimes it's just about continuing base hits. And if you're more about the base hits, take your profit and run. Nothing wrong with that. Celebrate the day, keep it going. That's the way the game is.
Especially
ADTX by
trading,
Steph
right?
and BDTX coming in there. Alerts in the chat. We'll see what happens on that. How did that ADTX look now? Oh, yeah, now. Don't look, Mitch. Don't look.
Don't do it. So ACN, I just got triggered out here. Again, the ultimate target is a 2-day VWAP. I always chicken out before that. And so the reason I got out here is just it was the low of this one. That obviously the winner today. And again, these are if there's an A+ setup in my strategy, and I'm saying this for you guys, but then also loudly for myself, it's just this, right? It's the long extended period of time below the VWAP before the breakthrough, right? Where something ADTX is a perfect example of something that I really probably shouldn't take. This has just been chopping above and below VWAP the whole time. So it just it shows that it's not respecting it nearly as much. And same with TSLL, right? This spent a whole lot of time below VWAP before it broke out in the morning. And again, I'm still in this. It hasn't really moved too much. I'm up on it, but not anywhere near target or loss. So, and then there's things like this that I'm just going to avoid entirely, right? Above VWAP, below VWAP, above VWAP, below VWAP, just not something that I super want to trade. So that's the idea. Again, I need to, if I'm going to rank the setups in the morning for what I want to do, and this is something I'm going to look to scan, is how long they've been above or below VWAP. So this initial trade on WNT right in here, that would have been a textbook short, but the thing is the stop has to go way up here. So you're entering at 275 with a stop at 350. Right? That's just a massive percent of gain. So to get a 1-to-1 on that, I would just need this thing to absolutely fall apart. And I just don't think the probabilities on those things are there in order to make that a worthwhile system I want to do over and over again. Where with something like ACN, right, I'm entering right here. You guys saw that at 297 with stop at 291. So that's $6 a share, but this thing is down from 340. So this thing's down $40 a share and I'm risking 6. So it just makes it way more increases the probability that I'll end up getting my profit target, which at the end of the day is all we really need to see.
We'll see what happens here, guys. Looking around in the streets, what's going on out there. So watching out there to see what's being talked about. Looks like not much. The streets being quiet. Everyone's focusing on the trading action. A lot of action coming on here. So looking out to see what happens here if we can continue the rally. Oh, that ADTX will be a miss, guys. Bad execution play on that today, guys. I feel like I could have nailed that one. It just bad execution on it. And it did cut down there towards the 11:17. We'll look to see if it's an all-day fade now. SPY finally showing some red, at least on the little bit of the break of the 9 EMA now. It's held it a couple of times. So at least from what I see here, I see about one pattern, two patterns, three patterns, and it just ran into the fourth. So a lot of times this is when I could see that kind of like, 1, 2, 3 kind of pullback, right? We'll see what happens here. How far do we pull back? Is it the 50? Is it the 200, right? So I'll be watching for that. Small pullback could put us back towards like 569 here. So we'll see what happens if that can hold here. Maybe 568 on the 15-minute 9 EMA. Right now, I'd be kind of looking at a trend line approach kind of there. That's kind of a very similar area, right? If it comes back for a trend line break and a throwback look on the SPY, that could be kind of what you're looking for in the market here. So throwback look, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, so still watching gold again. It's got nowhere near the low, but it is coming back up to that range. So it makes me want to potentially take a little bit of a shot here and then maybe add to it if it hits lows. Again, these are going to be way more discretionary trades, but they're longer term trades. So I think that's totally okay. And again, the basic idea is that I think that this area of resistance up here is going to hold. We spent a bit of time after hours above it, and now we're below it. And now we've just grinded back up to that zone. So I'm going to watch this one and, maybe use a 15-minute bar reversal, which just means wait for this one to close and then enter in the low of the bar to add some and then add the other. And again, I'll be expressing these with these ideas right here. So things like GLL, right? It's a very slow, easy way to take these trades. Again, if I think gold is going to be higher by the end of the day, I can take a shot there. And again, that's the bet that I'm looking to take on these. They're not, blow the world open or anything like that. It's just saying, I think that based off longer term charts, that we could have a nice little up day or down day in gold. So an up day in this GLL. And I bid. Okay. Oh yeah, the spread on that GLL is pretty wide. So we'll see. Yeah, and that's again the idea behind them is just I'm looking at a long-term chart and I'm just making a bet on something that's super chill on a long-term chart, and then going to do very small risks and no profit targets. Right, the stop will be or the target will be a time stop, and that the idea behind that is just you hold till a period of time. It's kind of the end of the day, and then you go from there. This obviously the failure that I was looking to have happen here on oil isn't happening, so that's off. And then Bitcoin broke this downtrend line earlier in the day, so I missed that one entirely. So if it comes back down to test, this might be another one to take as well. Again, Bitcoin well above the 5-day moving average, really, really good there on Bitcoin. So again, just taking shots in some of these plays, trying to stay away from
setup XLU.
Trying to stay away from the ADTXs and the WINTs of the world. Those are the things that get me in trouble.
Yeah, there's another one that's getting people into trouble, but not a bad one if you're on the upside. BKKT, Barak Holdings. I think it's been an absolute monster
thing,
today.
Isn't it? I think that's a crypto play, isn't it?
It might be. I think I've heard of it before. And I mean, that's a nice gap fill already. So it might just be already done, guys. It did fill the gap already towards like 13. So we'll see what happens if it can keep going. But there's some that are showing up there. I didn't catch that one early. And then there was a AEVA. That's another smaller one. But looking around out there, looking to see what happens. XLU is an interesting chart just because it's like really, really kind of stuck right here. So I think it could break above the 79.20s. We'll see if that happens to get the lift there. Not a bad area to look for. It is not doing too bad today. Financial still holding on.
Yeah, what a chart, right? I was just talking about the 200-day moving average. before, right? And this just shows how the strength of this financials still nowhere near the 200-day moving average. Made a break of that in November of 2023, and then not looking back. And this is
another thing is it's right off the monthly support too, right? So another thing is for bigger time frame traders, they're catching that support buy for sure.
Yeah, and then I also have here again an anchored VWAP from this low, the end carry explosion that happened a while ago. You can see it was support once, support twice, and now support 3 times. So continuing to ride that AVWAP is something that gets very interesting when you see that occur as a way to take a little bit of shots on things. So I don't know. I may just kill my Tesla or my TSLL here. Just moving stops probably right above these lows on using Tesla. But again, I'm in TSLL. It's everything else is ripping. This thing hasn't been able to get going. I'm in it. That puts me up. If it gets triggered, puts me up like $5 on the trade. I just figure I've given it enough time to do what I want it to do, and if it's not going to do it, then I'll raise my stop up to now we're break even, a little bit better, and then just move on. And I don't have to worry about that risk anymore. Yeah, just looking at this, right? Talk about relative strength, relative weakness all the time. So this is Tesla, and then that's the Qs. So the Qs are ripping, and Tesla just couldn't get going at all. That just shows some big relative weakness that I really don't want to be dealing with. Oh, are you muted there, Mitch?
Good old fashioned hard mute. Yeah. I was drinking my coffee. Didn't want to be that guy, but I think one of the things that is happening is they need some catalyst change, right? It needs something, right? The price action is trying at times, but we need something with news, something news related. I think it's gonna take that for Tesla. Whether it be their cheaper vehicle that they're wanting to come out this year, right? Whether it be another mention of robo taxis, right? Whether it be the robotics, those are the things you need to be looking for. Those are the only 3 things I could see turning that boat right now. And one thing that I say keep watching is the delinquencies and auto manufacturing buying overall, because that's the one area that I could see slowdowns coming in faster than housing. Housing takes a long time to show up, right? And I think that you think about it this way. If I have to cut one item and I'm willing for them to go and repossess my vehicle, I'm not going to give up my house, right? And so I think that's one number that I'm watching first to see if there's real trouble or not, right? So continue watching that. Meta finally pulling back. Finally.
Dan Ives put out a big thing, and he is probably like the biggest Tesla bull ever, since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
and even he put out a big statement today saying the political unrest with Elon, he thinks is causing a lot of this move, and it's kind of like almost like a note to Elon to maybe calm down, because this guy's been right and has made so much money off this Tesla trade. It's just insane, like multi-million dollars.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, everyone's talking about that, but where's the delinquency talk? Not something you're seeing brought up with that. And I think that I like to focus on things sometimes if there's a fundamental change under the business, or is it just rhetoric? If it's just rhetoric, it can come back. I mean, I think, but I think there's something else going on. The breaking of it just doesn't seem to me like there's so that's why what I'm watching also, to give a good perspective into this, is continuing to watch GM, the one that has the positive outlook for the year. If that starts to break back down towards, let's say, 40, that would be my sign of concern that it's just not Tesla.
Look at the relative strength there. That's amazing. So GM's only down. GM is down from all-time highs
18%, around 18%, that, something like
Tesla
that.
Tesla is down So yeah, you want to see relative strength, relative weakness. Tesla's down over half. So yeah, it's definitely not a, if it is a car thing, then it is specifically a Tesla car thing, right? If it's a brand thing, then it makes sense for Tesla to be down way more than GM. And again, we look at the 200-day moving average. If some people don't like percentages, and I get that because things can just be more volatile. But here's Tesla and how it just sliced through its 200-day. Then if we look at GM, it's holding right at that price. So it just shows, even the reason that that's important is it's a relative to its own stock, right? So relative to the own stock, even if you take volatility out of the equation, GM is just smoking Tesla on this down move. And then you can start looking at some of the other names. Ford, which has been worst of all, is still closer to its 200-day moving average. So, was it Toyota? That's one of those like pink sheets, isn't it?
TM.
Is it TM? Oh,
yeah.
That's above its 200-day moving average. Yeah. So that would be kind of something to keep an eye on with the argument too. Is that cars aren't going down, right? The market's down, and GM's down a little bit more than the overall market. I think it's down like a couple percentage more. Tesla's down, right? So if you start to see where all of these things start to move in lockstep, then I think that supports the argument a little bit more. But I'm more on the, I've seen I know they're isolated videos, but I've seen the videos of people, getting the Teslas beat up in the streets, and guys taking the names off them and getting bumper stickers of "I bought this before Elon went crazy," and like all this kind of ways to protect the brand. And that's really hard to recover from. Is if your brand recognition gets that beat up, that becomes really hard. Now, that being said, for a trade, I really like Tesla down here. It's just oversold. I think if the market goes up 4 or 5% and it bounces, I think Tesla's going to go up 10 or 15%, just because it's a higher beta type play.
I want to see the full retracement back to like 212s. So of course, this move came out of that low around 212.11. So sometimes I like to see it make the full trip back, right? Make that full trip back, and then find some big buyer again, right? Someone that maybe made some money on the move from that to 488 and was smart and sold into it maybe. So we'll see what happens there. Another thing that gives me that level is a trend line that goes through that level back down closer towards 198, which is just the trend line break from the highs back in like 22, right? Like kind of like a throwback look back to that. So
yeah, I did end up, you can see here on the 2-minute chart, I did end up just getting taken out of that trade. So that was kind of it technically broke the rules, right? Because technically I should leave the stop in, leave the target in, and walk away. But it was one of those, it was just so relatively weak to the cues that I figure if we get any pullback in the cues, this thing could happen. As it could take more of a hit, just because you expect relative strength. You want to be in names that are showing relative strength, and it just wasn't doing that for me. So I took that. So that is all of the VWAP scalps out of the way with a slightly profitable day there. And then now really it's just gold. Gold is my only idea kind of going into potential long-term trade. If we reject off of this area that we were up before and start to pull back, that's a shot I'm going to take there.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's bring back the man himself. What's up,
hey guys?
Back again.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was at the Fivers, and I told them that I will come here as well, so it will be an easy going, right? So I see lots of the guys coming from the stream of Fivers to us right now. So let's
go.
Great.
Let's take a look. I'm sure they're trading some maybe some e-minis or something like that out there, and taking a look into the overall market.
Mostly
we're watching
Forex. So we need to
talk that money. Talk that money, guys. How's the dollar looking, Michael? How's the dollar looking here?
How's the dollar? Yeah.
Does that work? This is the dollar over the last week or so, right? Just absolutely no movement. which could be good for stocks overall. But yeah, nothing super happening in dollar land right now, which is why we can always come talk about stock land, where if you take a look at what's happening today on the market alone, there's been massive opportunity off the open. If you end up getting a trade there, fading back a bit, a lot of doing, chats about where this pullback is going to end, if it's going to end. I think VWAPs are good places to look at. Different places like that. You can see the blue line and the yellow line. That's around 480 on the Qs. So I'm watching that as well. One thing, again, I don't trade these things well, but look at the blue arrows on this WINT over and over and over again, screaming to potentially break down here. So if this one gives way, this could be an interesting. This is Windtree Therapeutics, which is up 200 and something percent today. So if it fades down a little bit, that could be a huge move.
I would take a minute, Michael, Mitch, to first of all, the guy that just joined from Forex. It's interesting because I talked to them a second ago, and a lot of the guys just don't know what it means to trade stocks, right?
Yeah.
So it's you're coming from a different market. You don't know the rules. You don't know even the hours, right? The opening bell time and all. So first of all, you can all, like I said before, you can go to our website and check out under education the stocks to Forex. We created a great page, one pager that tell you all about it, explain the differences and the ticker size and all of those things that you need to know to become a
Who's
stock
that
trader.
guy?
Yeah,
Who's that guy?
So we prepared also a few videos, super easy to understand it once you read it once or twice. And like I said before, because we have the 5K account today and unlimited time, you can take your time, understand what it means, trade on the 5K. Once you get the hang of it, you can continue with the bigger accounts.
Yeah, definitely. I threw up the link there, guys, if you guys want to check out that page and learn a little bit more about it. But definitely check that out, guys. I love the information there and kind of, giving it to you in your language, right? I mean, and that's the important thing, right? It's like learning a new language, so it's going to take a little bit, but doesn't mean that you can't be done. And I think one of the things is it's important ways to kind of continue trading, right? I am starting to see finally starting to see some quantum attraction there. And one of the fun parts of the stock market world is that there's always like events, right? There's events just like Forex looks for events. There's events in the stock world too. So big event today, 1 p.m. start is the Quantum Day for NVIDIA. So a lot of people looking for that action there. And we're starting to see some strength there in some of these names. So I'd keep an eye out. One of the ones is the leader. There's always like a leader laggard style move, right? And then we talk about that. And I'm sure you guys see that in the Forex space too. Something kind of leading and then things following. So one of the names that I'm watching is IonQ. It's the leader kind of in the market cap in that quantum game. And it's holding on today really well. Like it hasn't broken down at all compared to these kind of moves that are going back and forth like QBTS, QUBT, and different names out there. So now IonQ starting to make the lead is something to watch to see if it can make a run into the afternoon. Of course, 1 p.m. is when that NVIDIA event starts. So a lot of traders are going to be watching that. So keep your eyes out for that.
And I would say that's the biggest difference, right? As someone who's traded Forex before and is trading stocks now, and there's both are good. Ideally, you have multiple systems, you have multiple. We talk about that here all the time. That having different systems to work in different environments, great. The big thing about stocks is that, like Mitch was saying, there's always something going on. There's periods of time where in the Forex world, right, the dollar's not moving, gold's not moving, even the overall equity markets aren't doing too much when it comes to the overall indices. But then there's always, like Mitch is showing here, quantum computing's coming out of the blue. We had space being a huge thing with some of these stocks, 10, 15x. There's not a day that goes by really where you're not looking at some sort of stock screener and seeing a theme or biotechs or something that are up 100, 200, 300%. So the amount of opportunity and the amount of inefficiencies in the Forex market is certainly way more than the FX market. And with inefficiencies, if you can, develop the right strategy with more inefficiencies, becomes more potential for gain.
And you got to remember that you can use the stock market and the forex market to find some correlations, right? Because from
Exactly.
time to time you will find it if you're looking for a pound CAD, right, or a USD CAD, like on the oil side, right? So you can find those stocks, that you can find the asset that is moving and actually work together between them. So you use your knowledge from forex to trade the stock market as well. So this is also something that might help for you.
Yeah, I love that. Look, we've been talking about different trades there. USO, hot, man. Continuing to hold that 9 EMA. I love the 9 EMAs too. So that's one of my things when I'm seeing a momentum move. I want to see it hold that pullback, and it's been holding the pullback all day long, right? So nice little break in this morning, red to green, and then ever since then came back above that light blue and seems to be holding on really well right now. We'll look to see what happens in that oil game. And then gold has been definitely just kind of holding on here on the lift. We'll see if it can continue making the lift. AU is one of those names that has a tendency to trend with gold. And I think that the important part is when I start to see kind of gold moving with future contracts, I'll take a look at this one, right? Compare it. This one loves to have momentum moves, and you can just see it on the chart, right? Big drives up, big pullbacks, big drives up, big pullbacks. And so finding trends is especially important in stocks, whether you're day trading or swing trading. And that's the fun part of stocks also, is there's multiple sides of it too, right? You can be taking fast intraday moves, or you can be kind of overnight trading, right? And kind of maybe going with a smaller size and looking for bigger moves, right? So it all depends on how you want to trade. It's a lot to learn here, but a lot that you can also apply from your learning that you've done already.
Yeah, and like always, you have the big names like Tesla, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, Nike, those companies that you either buy and familiar with on a regular basis, or just hearing about them on the news. And this is also something that you can start with, before jumping into stocks that maybe you don't feel comfortable to trade. You can definitely start with those that are easier for you to understand. And like I said, I talked about it. Someone asked me on Fiverr just a minute ago, and he said, what about the strategies? Are they the same? I can use the same strategy on my Forex account and also on my Trader Pool account. And I traded Forex for like 4 or 5 months, and it was a good one. You can do that. You can do the same trading, same strategies, reversal, pullbacks, breakouts. The only thing is just to understand the nuances of the market, right? The hours, the data, the catalyst behind, like the news that drives the stock and all of those things. But once you get the hang of it, the chart is a chart, right?
Yeah, and charts are essentially crowd psychology, right? That's all it's doing, is it's showing you where the masses are involved, where is their emotion and areas of support and resistance and all of that. So if you have a good handle on that, then that makes sense as well. And like Peach Bum here has mentioned, is that if you're someone who trades gold, we mentioned there's ETFs you can trade. There's leveraged ETFs that are going to move way more than gold will. If gold moves 1%, a leverage ETF might move 2 or 3%. So if you're right, you can obviously make more that way. And then there's individual stocks, right? If you take a look at something again like AU, this is the guy who mines the gold. So if gold is going to sell off today, then it's going to be a direct hit to the bottom line of this company. So this company would move down as well. So there's tons of different ways. And again, there's lots of different themes going on with, quantum computers, which, I don't even think these companies make anything, but just look at some of these moves on the daily chart. You're talking from 60 cents to $29 on a percentage basis. That is 3,500% gain in just a matter of weeks. So if that ever happens to a currency, something has gone really, really wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that IonQ move, not a bad one. We'll continue to see those quantum names lift. But also, what I love is keeping up with sectors and industries, right? You guys see me use different tools. I think it's always important to have different tools out there, right? And that's one of the things that I think is fun about stocks, right? Is that you can use a lot of like kind of looking in a more of a macro to micro approach, right? Looking for sectors to drive industries, and then industries drive stocks, right? I think that that's one of the things that is a fun part of stocks. Why I like it a lot is trying to look for those types of trends. So that's why we've been talking a lot about the financial services today. And the fun part is something like this, right? So you look at the overall index. This is an equally weighted index that's held a long trend, right? Long trend here, and it's been able to reverse out of that. And you can just find different names. And when you can see charts like this, where a sector is making an industry-wide one, you could look to see what kind of industries are leading: special finance, capital markets, asset management, right? All having really good days. But what do you see here too? Everything green in the industries. That is a very important thing, because then I can pick names, and essentially there's not many that are in the red today. Like, just look at these trades, right? A lot of greens from the open. And we're not talking one name, right? And I think that this is what I really think is an important way to look into stocks, is trying to focus on sectors and then trying to find these stock moves, or maybe using ETF vehicles, things like that, to take some of the diversity into play and take some of the volatility out. But a lot of these doing really well, right, guys? You guys are seeing me roll through the charts. I still have yet to see one really collapse, right? And things like that are important to catch, because when you do catch moves like this, you can really kind of have a higher probability of staying in the green. And that's all we're all looking for, right?
More trend in stocks, because they're more driven by fundamental events, that news that have come out, right? We
That
know
IonQ, man. Needed to wait for it, but it's hot. It's hot.
Yeah, nice breakout there. And your ADTX there, which is again a hilarious daily chart, because it was $200 billion stock, we said before. It looks like it might be breaking down here finally. So again, always things we're getting to lunch hour where things slow down, but there's still a lot of names to look at. And again, that was the biggest thing and this is why I kind of say, why not both, to a lot of the Forex people out there, is there'll be times where gold's super interesting, or the euro's going crazy, or something like that. And there's a lot of edge to be had there, and a lot of trade when things get inefficient like that. Then there's time where nothing's happening, and there's nothing happening in the euro, and there's nothing happening in the pound or the Canadian dollar. And then it's really good in those cases to be able to have other instruments that you can continue to flip through and go through and say, okay, well, Forex world is kind of dead right now. Let me look at stocks. And again, there'll always be something.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just really quickly, I talk about a leader to laggard trade, right? And this is what it would be, right? So the leader, IonQ, taking that big move. We all know how in stock world, a lot of times there's algorithms trying to pick up, right? So they'll start seeing one stock lead. They can't get that one, so they'll go and move down, right? They'll just move down the list. And so now I'd be watching to see if QUBT picks up, if QBTS picks up, right? And if you just watch to see the leader continue to chug along, and some of these start to play catch up. So like, look at this QUBTS, now starting to get back above 10, which was all the way up past 11 earlier. And now with the momentum that's going to IonQ, I'd look to see the action also drip down the watch list, essentially. And so this is how you can maybe find a leader. Maybe you can't catch the fast one. Maybe you can catch one that's moving a little slower and ride that trend.
That's incredible. I'm looking at ACN, for example, right?
ACN. That's one that Michael was looking at.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if you go to the hourly chart before that, right? The hourly chart is just, it dropped from, you're looking at the hourly? Yeah. So it dropped from $400 a few weeks ago, from like the mid-February, $400 all the way today to $300. And that's insane move that, in the forex market, you can't find those moves. But
Mhm.
also today, if you drop down to the, let's say, like intraday, so you saw it dropped from, because it's after earnings, so it dropped from 325 all the way to 295, and then bounce right now, like from the beginning of the day. So this is a classic, reversal gap that you can find. Looking to short it once it reaching a major key level and return to the downside. Catch it from the bottom. There are tons of things to do here, and the volume is insane. So, and it's happened every day, right? At least in the earnings season, every day you can find those opportunities.
Yeah, and this arrow right here that's where I took the trade, and it was the same. I was looking at the same thing, saying, "Hey, this is a little bit overextended. It's gap down huge." And the idea is that on the open, unlike forex, right, you have a pretty definitive open and a definitive close, and you won't really have institutions trade too much before the open. So my theory is that, okay, if I'm an institution and I like the stock for whatever reason, I'm going to wait for the open and start buying it. Or if I'm short and I want to start covering it, that's going to create upward momentum as well. So basic idea was up through, this is a little custom indicator I built in TradingView, and just said, hey, through the view app, take a shot, stop the low of the day. And you can see just a nice trend. So it didn't really give me any fear at all. And then I exited somewhere at 304 or so. And yeah, just trying to get a little bit of a fade on what we talked about it on the hour chart, which is so huge. Doesn't even look like much of a bounce, but that was enough for a decent little trade for me today.
For sure. I gotta answer my man Alex here. He's asking about my account with the Fivers. So I did a live stream when I talked about my strategy on the 320,000 of my hyper grow account there. And you know what? I reached like I needed to do like 32,000 in order to go to the 640,000, and I did 28. And yesterday I traded it and lost. Let me check. Lost maybe 2,000. So I'm missing roughly 6,000. Yeah, I'm at 26,000. So I need 6,000 more in order to go to that $640,000 of an account. Yeah, once I'll reach that, I'll do another video or another live, just to go and break down all the trades that I did there. Yeah.
Just blowing us away with mass buying power.
You gotta have it.
Look at
Bitcoin looking better, guys. Overall, just thinking about some things that I know you guys take a look at. Also, Bitcoin itself is. Are we in for another rally? Right. I mean, I talked about potentially 78,000 being an area for support. It's looking a little bit better. I had this drawn here, guys, a little while back. I even did this on the Fivers. You guys watched me draw this. And we're kind of holding in here, looking to see if we do another one of these, right? Where kind of we came into this kind of channel where we broke out of it, right? So can we do something like that? And there was this undercut that was pretty big on the second, like kind of this third drop here. And if you look here, we're finally getting that, the big wick. Can we recover back through kind of like 92,000, start working our way back here above 100? I think that's something definitely to look out for, especially if the markets are going to continue to rally. So that's one thing that you can do also, is like kind of looking at the Qs. And it seems like as of late, the SPY and the Q overlaid over this can really help you also, right? So you guys can definitely take a look at that to see if we start to get a move back in Bitcoin and overall the market. So I think it's a good judge for growth trades also. When you see Bitcoin really go high is when we've seen Palantir make an insane move, right? Stocks like that, right? I think that's very important to catch, right? When you see kind of these risk on assets, right? Really getting the push, well, those are when you also will see big stock moves also with that, as the euphoria goes everywhere.
Well, and the trends, right? Like look at this trend for Palantir, right? Just insane. Then you get these little pullbacks, and it looks great today. And yeah, the persistence of trends in stocks is one thing that I really do enjoy way better than Forex, where you can say, okay, this thing's in an uptrend on the daily chart. So when I'm doing my intraday trades, I just want to be focused on that. I want to be focused on buying on dips and buying on breakouts and things like that. And knowing that I'm just trading with a long-term trend, where, you know, when I was trading too much, when I was doing a lot with Forex, there's just way less overall trend that you can trade with. There can be months here where just nothing's occurring. You can always find something fun to do on an intraday chart when it comes to something like a Palantir or an Nvidia or any of these names that we all know.
Yeah, and also, you know, talking about the Bitcoin, you can trade the ETFs that represent the Bitcoin, or you can trade, like we said, Palantir, or we can trade, you know,